But I also think there are ways that other Big 12 teams could become involved here. Maybe not necessarily in this next round of realignment, because that feels like, I mean, look, it could happen as soon as this month, apparently, if we are listening to Josh Pate. And, oh, by the way, I would throw that in here too. If you're somebody that's listening to Josh Pate on the ACC, if you're somebody that's listening to him say, hey, this might happen in July, and like you're kind of on the edge of your seat, and like, all right, let's listen to this. Let's tune in. Well, you should probably listen on the Kansas thing too, right? If you're going to trust him for that, you might as well trust him for this. If you believe him, it's probably not going to be in this next round of realignment that any other Big 12 school would really get in the mix here. But if there's a next wave after that, which it seems like the sport inevitably is going to be headed towards that, I do think there is very much a way that a Big 12 school could get involved there. And that is because the new playoff, I think, presents the Big 12 with a very interesting conundrum here. The expanded playoff means you're going to have to play more games against playoff competition to get to the national championship game and eventually, as everybody would want to do, win a national championship. It's going to be tougher. That's the point. For the Big 12, the expanded playoff means you just got further away from a national champion. TCU already seemed pretty damn far away in that game against Georgia, even though they were literally in the game. The Big 12 just got further away from the national championship game by the expanded playoff. However, I don't think the conversation needs to stop there, because I would also say that the possibility for a Big 12 school to actually get closer to the Power 2 by building their brand through making the playoff consistently, the odds of that just increased dramatically. And I know the playoff is not going to be viewed totally the same in this era as it was in the 4-team era, where it was so much more difficult to make it. And that's why it was like impossible in that era for a Big 12 team to really build their brand a bunch, because it was just too hard to make it in that top 4 every single year. But now all you've got to do is win the conference. So if you have, and there are a number of teams that this could be, if you have Oklahoma State, if you have K-State, if you have Utah, if it's West Virginia, Iowa State, Kansas, we were just talking about Kansas, if it's Texas Tech, UCF, like one of these schools, if somebody steps up and goes to 3 of the next 5 playoffs because they are winning the Big 12 pretty consistently, that is the type of thing that could really elevate your brand to give you a second look the next time like realignment waves are happening. If you're really trying to up your football value and up your football brand. And I would actually submit Utah as an example here. So Utah football joins Pac-12. I was going to look up what year it was. 2011. Okay. Utah joins the Pac-12 in 2011. I mean, that was not that long ago. That, if we're talking about waves, right, that was the previous wave of realignment, and Utah is still a G5 team. Well, now we're sitting here in 2024, and the discussion is like, all right, well, Utah has to kind of settle for the Big 12 for now. What they really want is the Big 10. And that at least is like, I mean, it does not look like that's anywhere close to happening, but it's something that's in the discussion, right? It's not, you can't laugh it off as just ridiculous that they would like never have any chance. At some point, if this thing is going to expand out to like 20 plus team leagues, I think it's totally fair to say that Utah would have a shot there. And they've climbed that ladder that fast. I mean, that was 13 years ago, not that long. Who knows how long this next wave will be, and that's a part of the problem. How quickly will these things move? But if you do have somebody that jumps in and starts going to the playoff every other year or almost every year out of the Big 12, and somebody really grabs the bull by the horns, that can definitely elevate your brand nationally, because this sport, and I hate it about the sport, but the sport keeps gravitating more and more toward just being all about the playoff and all about how we crown a champion at the end of the year instead of what truly makes the sport great. And I could do an entire show about this, but what makes the sport great is the Egg Bowl. What makes the sport great is Farmageddon. What makes the sport great is the rivalries, colloquialisms, intricacies of stadiums, like all these different things. That's what makes the sport beautiful, and it's the regular season and all of that. But as we expand the playoff and we're in the current media environment we're in, people care more and more about the playoff and what that looks like. And SEC and Big Ten get bigger, badder. Everybody is going to start to just latch onto that more and more. Well, if you're the team that keeps making it, that could almost be like your promotion, right? We talk about promotion, relegation. You could almost do that in this new era, and you definitely have a better chance of doing that in this era than the previous era because you just weren't going to make that playoff. Too easy for people to laugh at like TCU and Baylor both getting left out when it's the one true champion fiasco and just Big 12. We don't need to worry about that. Yeah, TCU, you made it to the national championship game, but you got smoked, whatever. You're not going to, next time it comes around, we're not going to let you in the 14 playoff because you just got clobbered during your one shot there. That's so easy to write off, but it's a little bit different now that all you've got to do is win the league. All you've got to do is win the league to get into the playoff. And you can do that over and over again. Maybe some years there would be the possibility of getting in as well without even winning the league. If you just can consistently churn out 10-win seasons, the opportunity is there. Now, the opportunity is also definitely there for, we're looking at the league this year and saying, hey, like 8 teams probably could lay claim to like, hey, we've got a shot to make it to Arlington. Maybe that parity just chews the entire league up and spits it out and you kind of cannibalize each other and nobody does this. That's very possible too. But I would submit to you the chance that somebody really takes advantage of this. It'll be interesting now, the Utah part of this. I think most people would say, well, that maybe for Utah. Utah should be looking at this like, hey, this actually could be a wonderful thing for us. We hated the idea of coming to the Big 12, but if we just win it, go to the playoff, and every year, Kyle Whittingham's hoisting the trophy in Arlington, and we're just sending ourselves to the playoff, that's going to elevate our brand even more, and we'll have the launching pad there. Could be. I also wonder if Kyle Whittingham's going to be done after this year now that we have a head coach in waiting named, right? Like how much longer is he going to do it? It's one thing I'll be interested to try and get some insight on at Big 12 Media Days on Tuesday and Wednesday. Because again, I fly out to Vegas tomorrow. So a lot to uncover there, but that could be, Mike Gundy always seems like Mike Gundy has won 10 plus games, 8 of the last 18 years. So if he does that, if you say, all right, well, and that was a Big 12 with Oklahoma. I don't even know if I need to include Texas in that statement since they didn't win it for 14 years. But that was a Big 12 with Oklahoma. You take them out. Does it increase to a little over one every 2 years? It was already happening 44% of the time. So if he's doing that and your playoff hit rate is high enough with that, kind of in line with that, maybe it's Oklahoma State where they can elevate their profile even more and stop being probably one of the more underrated programs in college football and be more properly rated if that were to happen. I think that possibility is out there, and I just have not heard many people really talking about that. So, look, I know we're all Big 12 fans. We want the league to stay together, and I'm very much on board with that. But there is also, I think, teams and schools, like fans, definitely want to feel like you have some chance, right? And if you want to feel like you have some chance to give yourself like a surefire way to be included in the next big wave, if there's a big cutoff, like everybody wants to feel like they've got that opportunity, I would submit that to you as a potential route for it to happen.